Welcome back to another true crime video. Today I am covering the case of the shocking murder of 49-year-old Jeffrey Howe, who was killed by his lodger, then cut up and dumped in several locations. At trial he would make a shocking confession. This case is referred to as the Jigsaw Killer, Jigsaw Murder, and Jigsaw Man. If you like true crime stories, please subscribe to my channel. To give you some background on the three individuals involved in this case, the victim, Jeffrey Howe, 49, was a kitchen salesman who lived in Southgate, North London, and was financially well off. He had worked all around the UK, and had once been a chef in Italy. He had been adopted at a young age, and his brother described him as a jovial, charming character who had a heart of gold and would get on with anyone. He had been married and divorced twice. Stephen Marshall, 38, was a bodybuilder, personal trainer and former bouncer in London, and had once owned a gym in St Albans. He had a string of convictions for criminal damage, assault, battery, cocaine possession, and possessing a firearm. He had attacked his first wife in 2003, and was arrested on suspicion of murdering Minesh Nagrecha in 1996, when his burnt body was found, although he was never charged. He spent thousands of pounds on prostitutes, cocaine and steroids, and was said to live a playboy lifestyle. He was also heavily involved in the criminal underworld. His 20-year-old girlfriend was named Sarah Bush, whom he had met when he hired her as a prostitute. She had spent most of her childhood in care, and had had a baby when she was 15, but it died when it was only 10 days old. Stephen made her change her name from Sarah without an H, to Sarah with an H, simply because he didn't like it. They had both been living with Sarah's mother. Stephen had met Jeffrey when they were both in business selling kitchens, and they became very close friends. In November 2008, Sarah's mother kicked him out and they had nowhere else to go. Jeffrey found out about this and had invited him to stay in his spare room at his flat in Southgate, London. They were both staying rent-free, and Jeffrey had told a friend that they were eating him out of house and home, and he couldn't afford it anymore. After 5 months, Jeffrey asked them to move out, and they refused to do so. They fraudulently claimed housing benefit by forging Jeffrey's signature, and saying that he was renting the whole property to Sarah. Jeffrey had no idea about this and never received a penny of it. Tensions between the three of them had intensified to the point where Stephen and Sarah had plotted to kill Jeffrey and steal his money. On the night of either 8 or the 9th of March 2009 they carried out their evil plan. Whilst Jeffrey was sleeping in bed, Stephen stabbed him twice in the back with a 4-inch blade, with one of the wounds piercing his lung, whilst Sarah held a pillow over his face to stop him screaming. It is believed that Jeffrey might have been alive for up to an hour after he was stabbed. Shortly after Jeffrey died, Stephen and Sarah dragged Jeffrey's body into the bathroom and began dissecting him. They then started dumping his body parts in various locations in the Hertfordshire and Leicester areas. They also needed to get rid of Jeffrey's mattress, which was heavily blood-stained, and they bought airbeds. Less than a day after Jeffrey was murdered, Sarah and Stephen began draining Jeffrey's assets. They used his credit cards, opened credit accounts and sold his mobile phone to a cash converter shop for £15, along with other items of his furniture. Sarah used the internet at St Albans Library to buy a new mobile phone, and open an account with the retailer Littlewoods using Jeffrey's details. They purchased various takeaways and ordered supermarket shopping, which were delivered to various addresses linked to both of them. They began writing checks to each other using Jeffrey's checkbook, one for £850 that was deposited into Sarah's account on the 12th of March. In total, they had stolen around £5,000 from Jeffrey. On the 21st of March they sold Jeffrey's Saab car on eBay. Before handing the car over to the buyer, Stephen had swapped the number plates, taking Jeffrey's personalized one off, and replacing it with the number plates from his own car. Stephen was caught on CCTV driving off from a petrol station without paying, in a car that had Jeffrey's plates on it. Jeffrey had discovered that Sarah had told her prostitute friend that he had killed Jeffrey and that she had witnessed it. Upon hearing this, Stephen went to her home and threatened to kill her if she told anyone. He then threw her 6 feet across the room and left. A friend of Jeffrey's had visited the flat, and found the couple living there alone. They told her that they did not know where Jeffrey was, and that he had been missing for a few weeks. The woman asked them if they had reported him missing, and they hadn't. After trying to phone him, she reported him as a missing person on the 15th of March 2009. Police went to Jeffrey's flat the following day and Sarah told him she did not know where Jeffrey was, and that he had just upped and left, and had not been back to collect rent from them for weeks. Jeffrey's mother, who usually received calls from him several times a week, became very worried when she had not heard from him for a few weeks, and rang the police some time before the 21st of April to report him missing. Shortly after Jeffrey had been murdered, reports started coming in from members of the public finding body parts in locations around Hertfordshire and Leicestershire. The first discovery was around 5 p.m. on Sunday the 22nd of March 2009 when a farmer found a sports bag dumped on farmland near a lay-by on the A507 in Puckeridge. The man opened the bag to see what was in it, and he found 2 blue carrier bags with something inside. He poked it with his finger and he thought was either a joint of meat, or something more sinister, so he contacted the police. When police attended the scene, they opened the bags and found a human leg that had been severed at the hip and with a foot still attached. Police said that the bag was not very well concealed, and it appeared that it had been dumped in a hurry. The police took it with them to be examined in an attempt to find out who it belonged to, and they launched a murder investigation. Pathologists were able to determine that the leg was likely to have been there for less than 1 week. The next discovery was a week later on the 29th of March, when a left forearm was found on a grass verge along Drovers Lane in Hertfordshire. Later on the 31st of March, a head was unearthed by a farmer in a cattle pen in a field in Asfordby, Leicestershire, 100 miles away from where the other body parts had been found. The flesh had been removed and the eyes, ears, tongue and neck had been cut off. Police called in 100 police officers to search the area for any other body parts, but they found nothing. On the 7th of April, a right leg was found in a hold-all near the A10 Puckeridge bypass in Hertfordshire by a driver who had stopped for a rest. On the 11th of April, a decomposing torso, right arm and upper left arm were discovered in a ditch by a walker near Standon, Hertfordshire inside a green suitcase that was the same brand as the hold-all. All of the body parts were sent to be tested, and it was confirmed that all body parts were from the same individual. The torso had a stab wound to the back, which pathologists were able to confirm that this was the cause of death. They also stated that the head was missing 2 teeth, and the foot had a fungal infection on 1 toe. They were also shocked by the way the body had been dissected. They remarked that it had been done professionally and with such precision they thought the person who did it was either in the medical profession or a butcher. It was also said that the whole process would have taken around 12 hours. Both of Jeffrey's hands were still missing at that time, and have remained missing to this day, although it is believed they may be buried in Epping Forest. Residents living in these areas became terrified of what would be found next, and the police believed that the killer was playing games with them. Police appealed to members of the public in the hope that someone could give them a clue as to who this man was. Police were really struggling to identify the victim because his DNA was not on the database. They were unable to find any matches in missing person reports because the body had been dissected, the facial features had been removed, and they had no idea whether the victim was male or female. 1 month into the investigation, they still had no clues. They contacted forensic anthropologists to see if they could reconstruct the face, and they told police that the head belonged to a middle-aged man. Police appealed to the public again for their help in identifying the victim, and they received a call from Jeffrey's mother saying that he was missing, and she thought it may be the man they had found. 2 police officers went to Jeffrey's flat at 11:30 on the morning of the 21st of April, and both Sarah and Stephen were there. They told police that they did not know where Jeffrey was, and that he hadn't been to collect rent from them for a few weeks, but said they believed that he was still alive. Sarah told him that Jeffrey had been feeling depressed and that he was struggling to cope with life. Police had a look around the flat, and there were no visible signs of blood, or anything to suggest that a murder had happened there. They found Jeffrey's passport on a coffee table, and in Stephen's room they found Jeffrey's number plate hidden in the back of his wardrobe. Police thought that both Stephen and Sarah were suspicious and they were both jittery and looked uncomfortable. They said that Stephen was shaking. They contacted the murder team and asked them if they wanted him to arrest the pair, but they were told to return to the police station so they could decide what to do next. Although they still didn't know who the body was, less than 2 hours later, police returned and arrested the couple on suspicion of murder. They were taken to a station in Hertfordshire for questioning, and Sarah told police that Stephen suffered terrible mood swings, and that she had been planning to leave him, after he had been violent to her on several occasions. She also told him that Stephen had threatened to kill her ex-partner and bury him in Epping Forest. Stephen told her that he had dismembered bodies in the past. Police remarked that Stephen seemed quite a nice and polite individual, and when they interviewed him, he gave a no comment to all questions. Whilst the two suspects were in custody, forensic investigators went to the flat and began looking for evidence. Blood was found under the carpet in the bedroom and in the bathroom, and they believed the murder had taken place in the bedroom, and that the dismemberment happened in the bathroom. Forensic experts examined the duct tape that was used to wrap the body parts, and they were able to identify green fibers which were a match to a T-shirt they found in Stephen's bedroom. They also identified blue fibers which were a match to the airbeds that Stephen and Sarah had bought after getting rid of Jeffrey's blood-soaked mattress. On April 23, 2009, whilst they were in custody, police received confirmation from dental records that the body was that of Jeffrey Howe. When they were presented with the evidence, both Stephen and Sarah denied murder and blamed each other. After 72 hours in custody, they were both charged with murder, perverting the course of justice, dismembering a body, and preventing a coroner from holding an inquest. They were both remanded in custody awaiting court appearance, and on the 1st of May 2009 they appeared at Stevenage Magistrates Court where they entered plea of not guilty. The case was sent to the Crown Court for trial. The trial began on the 12th of January 2010 at St Alban Crown Court. On the first day of the trial, and before the jury had even been sworn in, Stephen changed his plea to guilty, but only to dismemberment of the body and not to the murder. A number of witnesses were called, including two friends of Sarah, that said when she was drunk, she had confessed that she helped Stephen kill Jeffrey and that she had held a pillow over his face. As the trial unfolded, a picture emerged of Stephen to be an aggressive and domineering bully who threatened both men and women with violence when they stood in his way. On the 29th of January, 3 weeks into the trial, Stephen realized the substantial amount of evidence against him, and changed his plea to guilty of murder. He also made a shocking confession to the court that he had dismembered 4 more bodies between 1995 and 1998, and disposing of them in Epping Forest, whilst he was working for the criminal Adams family in London. He refused to give any information on these victims. A female witness appeared, and told the court that Stephen had revealed details of these murders, and stated that he butchered these victims with meat cleavers, large knives and sometimes even a chainsaw or hacksaw. He also told her that he had incinerated some of them, and described the smell of burning flesh. He was sentenced to life imprisonment on the 1st of February, for a minimum of 36 years. Sarah also changed her plea to guilty on the 1st of February, and was sentenced to 3 years and 9 months for perverting the course of justice by helping Stephen take Jeffrey's head to Leicestershire, and was given a concurrent sentence of 2 years and 3 months for giving false information about Howe's whereabouts, although she was acquitted of murder. She served 45 months in prison. In November 2010, Stephen filed an appeal hoping to get a reduced sentence. He was turned down and completely dismissed, and was required to serve his sentence. Marshall is currently incarcerated at an undisclosed maximum security British prison. He is not eligible for parole until 2046 at the age of 74. This is a shocking case. Stephen and Sarah had taken advantage of someone who tried to help them. Jeffrey was simply trying to give him shelter, but unfortunately it cost him his life. In this case, Stephen thought he was so smart, and because he did this prior and had gotten away with it, he could continue to do it and no one would be the wiser. That just didn't work out in this case, thanks to some great police work. Please give this video a thumbs up. If you like true crime stories, please subscribe to my channel. And hit the notification bell to be notified each time I upload new content.